Welcome to the Craig and Greg Show, presented by Maximize Leadership. Here are Craig Owens and Greg Harris.
Hey, welcome to the Craig and Greg Show. I'm Craig. This is Greg. We are really glad that you are with us. Hey, we've got a special announcement to make. If you will recall, last month we wanted to incentivize all of our viewers to give us a little feedback. And so everybody who made a comment or shared, we put your name in a drawing, and it was a super secret, very random way that we reached in the hat and pulled out your name. So Dan Chastain, thank you for your comments. And he left us a couple of them, so he got a couple of votes. He increased his odds. We got a gift card for you that we will get to you shortly. Even though the contest is over for now, right?
We should continue.
You might do it again.
Well, we're in the generous spirit.
Yeah. It's very, we are very generous. So we'll do it again. So if you leave a comment, either you could do it on YouTube, you could do it on Twitter, Maximize Podcast. If you've got a question, if you just got some feedback on the show, anytime that you leave something there, we'll put your name in the drawing, and we'll have a wonderful, valuable prize for you. How about that?
Well, actually, we should probably audit the selection. Like, we should have another elector watch the person pull it out of the hat, just to make it.
Now you're getting a little
Oh, boy, it's getting a little complicated here. Jeez.
Well, we're in a kind of a busy time of year for people. This is when you come up to Christmas, when you come up to New Year. There is so many things going. I sometimes I look down at my calendar and I see very little white space because there's so many things happening. And yet, it's somewhat amazing to me how many times that I hear reports and statistics about people being lonely during what you would think would be a very busy season. So I want us to kind of unpack that a little bit, especially from the aspect of a leader. So let's talk about it from this perspective first. You and I, as leaders, we need to be, first of all, we need to be aware of that we're setting the pace. So how can we help other people that might be battling with their loneliness, and how can we guard against it in our own hearts? What do you think?
I think part of it is guarding, right? It's going to happen at times where you don't feel included. I mean, you go back to middle school and dodgeball or bombardment, whatever they called it, and people picked, their teammates. And then the last people felt the worst, right? And it almost feels that way in leadership, like, the leader, my manager, my supervisor didn't come by today and say hi. But the reverse is the case. The associate, the teammate, the employee didn't either. Right. And I think one of the things as leaders we really do need to make sure we're taking care of is ourself.
Yes.
Because if we do get worn out, we're on fumes. Being lonely is a really short trip from I'm tired to no one cares or no one knows I'm struggling.
Well, and don't you find when you're tired too, one of the things that you probably want to do is isolate, because it's draining being around people. Yeah. And so if you get tired, then you're like, I'm not going to go to that group, or you're in a setting with a lot of people and you're not going to walk across the room and go talk to somebody because you're just too dang tired.
Yeah, exactly. And it sneaks up on you. And I think it's seasonal. Yes. And you talked about some of the holidays, and you'd think people would just be rip-snorting excited, for the holidays. I mean, whether you're a kid, whether you're, a young adult, or you're someone who's raised your kids, depending on your spectrum, I think it's critical to make sure that you have that fuel inside you. And we'll unpack it a little further.
Well, one of the things that I do in the organizations that I lead is I, on purpose, cut back the number of obligations for my teammates. So I won't necessarily say, hey, let's have a Christmas party for our organization. You probably already have a lot of Christmas parties that you're going to. So let's combine some kind of a Christmas celebration with something we're already there. Let's not make it a separate time. I'll do that with some of my standing meetings. Instead of maybe where it's at a separate day, I'll say, you know what, we're already here. Let's just step aside. And since it's December, and people are busy, let's just shorten the meeting. Let's just get down to the bare minimum that we need to cover. And sometimes I'll make it a stand-up meeting. Like, let's not even sit down and get comfortable. Let's just go stand over here and just deal with what we need to deal with, and then you're done. And I want to try to free up your schedule if I can. That. So I think sometimes as leaders, we have to help people put that margin.
Be intentional. This is going to date us a bit. I won't go into what decade that was, but do you remember there was a cup that I think I showed you years ago? It's a coffee cup. And I said, this is the length of the meeting. And it's a coffee cup with the bottom halfway up. So you really didn't have a full coffee.
Yep.
Then therefore you didn't have a full hour meeting.
Right.
And it has to almost be, we have to be tricking ourselves, right? Is just to say, I'm not going to allow this, or we should be intentional, or, and particularly during certain times, whether you have Zoom meetings with people across the country or across the globe, it can be a little lonely. You're sitting in your office with your laptop up, Zooming people, and you'd rather be with them. Yep. You had an interesting quote from Josh McDowell that really,
I got it right here.
Please share that. That's a home run.
Josh McDowell found in his study that the coronavirus shutdowns, I love this, it says it didn't create loneliness, but it put a spotlight on what was already there.
Yeah.
And I think that there are some people that they've already started to isolate themselves before you even had health concerns that mandated some people to do the Zoom meetings and not be in person. And so I think it's a real thing that as leaders that we need to make sure that we're empowering our people to, hey, break out of that shell.
Yeah, there's been a number of times where I've been on the phone with a leader, whether it's, and they want Zoom, and I'll get the invite for Zoom, and I'm like, I'm so tired of Zoom. It's a cool name. I get it. Right. And they have other ones, that you can do a video conferencing, telework, but it's like, I just want to see you. Yeah. I really, on the camera. And then sometimes if you have your team, you'll have the old, the Hollywood Squares where everyone's all lined up and you're seeing this person drink their coffee, and then some child yells at the other person on the bottom and trying to get the TV turned down. It's just amazing, but I'd like to be with them. Yeah. And I think there's where leaders, it kind of translates to presence, being present. I think a real simple definition of leadership is just being present. Yes. And I think it combats the loneliness that can sneak up, and it's not, the bells don't go off that, hey, Greg, you're lonely. Hey, Craig, you're lonely. It's the sneaky one.
Well, you were talking to me earlier about the lone wolf.
Oh, yeah.
And how that can contribute. Elaborate a little bit on that.
Well, I think as leaders, we are competitors, and we're entrepreneurs, and we take risk. And we're battlers, and I think the challenge is sometimes, I don't really need the whole army. I just need my guns and my ammunition to win today, or I'm going fishing today by myself. I've got all the lures and enough gas to get my motorboat out in the lake and fish. Yep. And we tend to sometimes guard ourselves for being maybe a little too close to people, and that's a trap, because an open door policy in an office. Yeah, when you shut your door, you become the lone wolf. Yep. And when you open your door, or you mingle, or you walk around and try to notice good things, boy, you just get engaged with other people's lives. And I think the lone wolf, Rich DeVos, passed away, but a former, co-founder of Amway, beautiful company. And I remember him speaking on one issue: there is no self-made people.
Right.
And I thought, for some of us, we're like, well, no, I work hard. You're right. Yep. My parents, my coach, my teacher, my teammates, whatever. Yep. But that lone wolf is such a part of it. Might be that we want a little bit of the accolades. Sure. That we did it. But if you take a football analogy, you watch a quarterback and think, boy, he's a surgeon, with a ball. He still needs someone to catch it.
You still need somebody to block for him so he has time to throw it.
I mean, there's sometimes a quarterback I might have been guilty of it, where, just going to throw the ball to myself. I got a better chance. Sure. And that's not true. Right. But it is the catch, the trap of lone wolf.
Yep. One of the things that stood out to me a long time ago that I realized, if you go to the New Testament of the Bible, it's very interesting that the word saint never appears like that. It's never singular. It's always plural. It's always saints.
Saints are together.
Right. Because, in other words, I need you to bring something out of me, and you need me to help bring something out of you. And that's why, one of the verses that you and I use a lot is iron sharpens iron.
Love that.
Iron sharpens, I can't sharpen it on air. I've got to be around somebody else. And that sharpening is going to guard me against the loneliness of feeling like, I'm back here all by myself.
Yeah, there are times, and I'll defend leaders. I mean, I'm sure those that are listening, where you just need some time just to think.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Pull it together, kind of gather your thoughts.
But you just can't stay there.
No, you can't stay there, and I think that's our trap. Unfortunately, is I got so much to do. I just got to buckle down. I'm going to have lunch in my office.
Right.
That's probably one simple recommendation for leaders is, 25 minutes. Just get in your car or go to the lunchroom, mingle a bit. 25 minutes. My guess is by the time you're done with your afternoon or evening, if you're working a different type of shift, you're probably out of energy because you had your head down the whole time.
Yep.
Other than marathon runners, which I ran to the refrigerator this morning. That's about all I did.
That's a sprint. That's not a marathon.
Well,
I've seen you get to the refrigerator.
I was thirsty for orange juice. But I think with the marathon runners, you think, they're going so fast. And then you get down to, their last 2 miles was under 5. They ran 24 miles, and then the last 2, they're like, so they still had the sprint left. They didn't sprint the whole time.
Right. And
I think there's our track analogy for leaders is it's not a sprint.
Yep.
It is a marathon, but isolation, it's almost that there's a mechanism in us. You've been around people who you're just tough to get to know. And I wonder if you have a story where that might contribute to their loneliness because they just made it difficult to kind of be around them, but you knew you had to or you should.
Well, I think that in general, I have found, not a particular person that I point to, but
oh shoot, I was hoping for a name.
In general, I think that when you find those people that are standing off by themselves or sitting by themselves, if you will initiate, it's amazing how much those people usually open up. But there's almost that defense mechanism. You could see it with the crossed arms. They're like, don't come over here. And yet when you do, and the ice is broken, and so I think that really is a challenge for us, all of us as leaders, especially like we said at this time of year. You're probably going to be around a lot of gatherings for the holiday season. Look around the room and find that one that's like standing over there by themselves, and you be the initiator. It'll help you with your loneliness, and it'll probably help them as well. So I'll put in there as well, just a real quick plug.
Yeah.
We've got a page set up on MaximizeLeadership.com about our coaching huddles. There's a great place for you to get plugged in with a smaller group of people that are really going to care about you and interact with you. And so we want you to take advantage of that. And as we mentioned earlier, leave us a comment so we can put you in the drawing because I think our prize would probably help with some loneliness issues too, right?
Could be loneliness. It may bring a smile to their face, something a little, that they could.
And we're going to give them something that's going to help them like reach out to other people too.
Exactly.
So,
there you go. Yeah.
We're going to hook you up. So in the meantime, please get in touch with us. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube so you know when an episode comes up. Follow us on Twitter at Maximize Podcast. And we just want to be able to interact with you. And we want to hear from you when you tell us, hey, here's something I'm struggling with. Here's something I'd like to know a little bit more about. Send us a message so we can include it in an upcoming podcast. We hope that you have a great Christmas, a great New Year. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Happy holidays.
Get in touch with Craig and Greg through Twitter at Maximize Podcast or at MaximizeLeadership.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of The Craig and Greg Show.